It was so funny. We were talking about returning to the real world and whatnot, but so many things are tied together. You know what I'm saying? We talked about what happened on the Capitol that day, right? Was so taken advantage by the elites, and they used the neo-progressives within the government also to say we have to have this war on domestic terrorism. But what are they going to define as domestic terrorism right now, right? How broad can it be? Well, here's a little clip of John Brennan the other day, and listen to the scariness of this. This was on Friday, so we're covering it today. Check it out.
Watch this.
Looking forward, that the members of the Biden team who have been nominated or have been appointed are now moving in laser-like fashion to try to uncover as much as they can about what looks very similar to insurgency movements that we've seen overseas, where they germinate in different parts of a country and they gain strength, and it brings together an unholy alliance frequently of religious extremists, authoritarians, fascists, bigots, racists, nativists, even libertarians.
All right, that's pretty damn scary right now. And how about the language, fam? They germinate. This is CIA talking points, and I've seen people kind of actually lifting up defend the intelligence department. Well, the FBI is necessary, blah blah blah. But fam, please,
I thought you were a fucking anti-capitalist and I thought you were a socialist. Why are you embracing these three-letter agencies all of a sudden in an effort to freaking rat everybody out as a white domestic terrorist? Now, look, I've said this many times. There are people who actually do hate everybody that's not white. That is a thing that exists. I'm not saying that doesn't fucking exist. What I am saying is that they're taking advantage of a small minority of people, and they're extending those descriptors to include everybody else. And it's going to include not just the right. We're going to start talking about how it is also going directly after not liberals, but leftists, all these socialist and communist organizations that you supposedly hold dear to are going to be directly affected by this language, because who else might be a radical crazy? Malcolm X was called that. Fred Hampton was called that. Now we're going to have leftists be called radical crazies because they're against they want to hold their government accountable. How long is it going to take for the working class? It's maybe not much longer to get really pissed off, just like we talked about with our guest yesterday, to actually do something. This is why people are arming, because they think something's going to happen.
Yeah, and it's very simple. It's the oldest trick in the book. You know what I'm saying? It's here you got the Purple Empire, which is fighting with everybody, is fighting with the blue people, the green people, the red people. And now you got a bunch of green people going, wait, those red people over there, you know what I'm saying? Maybe we should talk to them. And the blue people are going, oh, no, you can't talk to them. They're awful. We have to have it our own way. It's got to be our way, like that, world socialists talked about it. Oh, we don't unite. We don't talk to those people. And that's why these people, the purple people, which is the whole the colorful royalty that they think they are, these psychopaths that can control everybody, they keep control because all these people and all these factions are fighting with themselves. Now, the Boogaloo Boy we did have on, Magnus, who was pretty awesome and stuff, he did talk about why he was disappointed in Tulsi, and we all said that thing as well too. Yeah, it was disappointing that she didn't do what Ron Paul did and say, you know what, screw you, I'm not endorsing anybody, and go start a podcast. Well, she went and started a podcast, but she still, at the end of the day, a lot of people felt she bent the knee. But the language of what she continued to talk about with helping out Assange, with helping out Snowden, with getting rid of the, the espionage. She wanted to redo that act. And this language right here, when she went on Fox, this is what I want the issue to be fought like. Watch how Tulsi fights for it there.
Former Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard from Hawaii, Democrat, joins us now. Congresswoman, great to see you. I know you've just been out of the job for a week or two. Are you surprised they're pushing forward with this extra surveillance on would-be domestic terror?
It's so dangerous. As you guys have been talking about, this is an issue that all Democrats, Republicans, Independents, Libertarians should be extremely concerned about, especially because we don't have to guess about where this goes or how this ends. When you have people like former CIA Director John Brennan openly talking about how he's spoken with or heard from appointees and nominees in the Biden administration who are already starting to look across our country for these types of movements similar to the insurgencies they've seen overseas. that, in his words, he says, make up this unholy alliance of religious extremists, racists, bigots. He lists a few others and adds at the end, even libertarians. So when you look at their process and they start looking at, okay, what characteristics are we looking for as we're building this profile of a potential extremist? What are we talking about? A religious extremist? Are we talking about Christians, evangelical Christians? What is a religious extremist? Is it somebody who's pro-life? I mean, where do you take this? You start looking at, okay, well, obviously you have to be a white person, obviously likely male. Libertarians, well, if anybody who loves freedom, liberty, maybe has an American flag outside their house, or people who, attended a Trump rally. Once you start walking this down the path, you see where it leads to a very dangerous undermining of our civil liberties, our freedoms in our Constitution, and a targeting of almost half of the country.
Ilhan Omar says this, we already have laws on the books, sorry, but you are just going to have to learn to apply them. The other thing I thought was interesting, Congresswoman, I don't see any FBI demanding more tools. They feel they got the tools. These are congressional leaders or members who feel as though they're so freaked out by Trump supporters, they still can't understand why anyone would support him. They want to get to the bottom of it. And do you think the whole deprogramming of Trump supporters, this new buzzword among detractors and Democrats, has anything to do with this?
Yeah, I think it does very directly. I think just on the FBI front, I read a great op-ed this morning from a former FBI agent who made a very strong case for why this new domestic terror law introduced by Adam Schiff is wrong and is directly going to undermine our constitutional rights and freedoms. This whole effort, whether you're talking about this bill or people saying that we have to deprogram these Trump cultists and people who voted for Trump because they've been radicalized, all of this just goes to further tear our country apart. And it moves towards the thing Joe Biden said in his inauguration speech that he shouldn't happen, which is a dehumanization of your opponent. And that's where his voice is so necessary right now. He is the president of this country. He delivered this speech, his voice, himself, speaking to the American people. He needs to denounce people like John Brennan and their statements, bills like the one Adam Schiff put forward, and truly speak to the American people about how we must come together around the Constitution, around our Bill of Rights, around these rights that have been endowed to us by our Creator.
If he had your leadership ability, he would do it. Maybe he still will. That's why she ran for president. Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard, thanks so much.
So, fam, I don't have an American flag out in front of my house, but I'm white, male, libertarian, and I went to cover a Trump rally. So I might be suspect. They're coming to take me away, fam. Help me out.
I already see the leftists saying so many things about this. Like, she was talking about God. I'm telling you from this perspective, she was talking about God. She is talking about our civil liberties. That's like such a right-wing talking point. Look, she's defending Trump supporters. But that's not what this is about here, because even though Tulsi has said, she's not for socialism, and I was there when she said it, and I was like, damn it, this is where we differ. I can tell you the important part of what she's talking about, which a lot of these people are going to miss because they're going to hear her rhetoric and be like, oh, she's such a closet right-winger, is that our civil liberties are in danger. Like, whether you want to specify freedom of speech, the assaults on journalists. We're seeing what's happening with Julian Assange. She was the only person in Congress on the Democratic side to push for any protections to the Espionage Act, any protections for whistleblowers. And she specifically brought up actual legislation for it. She didn't just make, these calls. And it's important because now what we're seeing is that attack, that description extends to libertarians who posit libertarianism exists in the United States, mostly on the right. But that's not how it's supposed to be. The libertarians are also exist on the left. It's because it's the antithesis to authoritarianism. Like, the less government control, the more libertarian you are, basically. You can be on the right where you think like everybody is responsible for themselves and you believe in capitalism and all of that, or you can be on the left where you think that there should be more social safety nets to give people, let's say, single payer, but also you don't want big government. Like, you don't want the government to overstep their boundaries. You allow people the freedom of expression, no authoritarian type of censorship. So there's that, right? And I told Pasta earlier that I was the ultimate left-wing libertarian because I consider myself an anarcho-communist, which is all the way to the left and all the way at the bottom. So in looking at this and looking at what she said and seeing what's happening now with everybody getting called a Nazi, everybody being accused of being a white supremacist, do you see how this is dangerous? And she's absolutely right. Yeah. We're walking down this dangerous path that we're not going to be able to come back from.
We talked about opening up Pandora's box a long time ago, right? Once you start doing this, once you say it's okay for Alex Jones, eventually they'll come for you. And in this particular case, they didn't just even wait to eventually come for you. As soon as they started 86ing people on Twitter and whatnot, the Bannons, the Laura Loomas, the Tracy Beans, and all these people, they just started cutting them off left and right. They immediately went after leftists that they thought is a threat to as well. Remember, I had up on my Twitter for a long time the city council, people city council LA, they took down their Twitter. They got it back 3 days later and stuff like that. But once again, you stopping momentum, you're not getting the word out. Why? Because they like to do protest in front of people's houses, you know, like Garcetti. So the whole thing is any dissenting voice, whether it be on the right or the left, they will shut it down once you say it's okay to do these things. And that speech by Brennan should be frightening, should be scary as can be, ladies and gentlemen. That's about the government controlling everybody, lumping everybody together. Anybody who doesn't agree with the CIA and the FBI has got to go to jail. They threw libertarians in there, which was the scariest points where people were like, holy cow, oh my God. And there is that article up there right now. It's the same thing as that interview we saw. But fam, you also put this up right here where Facebook shuts down a major left-wing group in Britain. And they'll come for you too.
They will. And I will
Any dissenting voice.
And I will say that that they're targeting more than half the country, actually, because they're not just targeting the right, which is like half the country, believe it or not. They're going to start targeting the left. So press release, Facebook shuts down major left-wing group in Britain. And it's a bunch of political activists. They shut down one of the biggest left-wing organizations in Britain, the Socialist Workers' Party, SWP. It was a Facebook page that was removed with no explanation. Those targeted say it amounts to a silencing of political activists. Facebook took the action on Friday, shutting down the Socialist Workers' Party page and removing dozens of leading SWP activists from the platform. The SWP Facebook regularly posts in support of Palestine, Black Lives Matter, and against Boris Johnson's COVID policies. It also hosts dozens of online events every week that activists across the country take part in. The SWP say they haven't been silenced for speaking on these issues and that the actions taken by Facebook amounts to an attack on political activists to organize. They are demanding to be reinstated immediately. This is the second time that they have removed SWP accounts. In December, they disabled the accounts of 45 SWP activists, but admitted they had done so in error and reinstated the majority of these accounts. So there you go. That's the the socialist left. And you know, I've seen their stuff, the Socialist Workers' Party. I love their stuff. Like that's the kind of shit I love. Like I absolutely, you know, adore it. It really sucks that that's happening, and it really sucks to see so much of the left cheering this on because of a few Trump supporters. Like we've always said on the show, if somebody's inciting violence and saying, I'm going to go kill somebody over here, and yes, by all means, you have the power to take that down, but we need to make laws and fix the Section 230 because it's not up to standards that it should be. It's not at all, you know, like, you know, a lot of people are against getting rid of it because of that clause that would make small businesses liable. So why don't we just redo the whole thing? Because obviously it's not working out, right?
Some special shout outs to Sajad Al Kafaji. Thank you so much. Love the trumpet in the intro. Everybody loves the trumpet. That's when you know you're getting hyped now because here comes Couch. Dun, dun, dun. Kat Terrell, keep up the great work. Thank you, Kat. You keep up following us and helping us out. Jim Garrison is going to try to get another trial against Clay Barkstrom from the movie JFK. Jim Garrison, thank you so much. The CIA took my baby away. They took away from me I think that's how he wanted me to think. Is fire, eyeball, that sign from Spock, that one, and I. Thank you so much, Jim Garrison. I hope I didn't ruin your super comment by singing it. Frank Analysis is here. Thank you. Keep up the great work, fam. You keep it up, too.
Frank.
RW, thank you for the Super Ray. That we are so eager to believe the worst about people, rather than trying to understand them, is an indication of how sick we are as a culture. And you know what? They've duped people to acting that way, to feeling that way. I mean, let's start calling some of these people out, like the people in Congress who push this type of rhetoric, who push this type of shit. I wish this guy, if elections were okay, would get a good challenger. But you got Adam Schiff for brains, right around the corner from here. He's rubbing elbows already. Here's a tweet from Natasha Bertrand. Representative Adam Schiff says in a news statement that he's glad to hear Biden will keep Wray on as FBI director, right? And looks forward to working with Wray on such issues as the much needed to dramatically expand the focus and resources devoted to the threat of domestic terrorism. You know? And here it is, the Washington, D.C. today, Representative Adam Schiff, chairman of the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence, rubbing elbows with Pelosi over there. He ain't losing that spot, released the following statement. Christopher Wray, my good friend, became the FBI director at the moment of tremendous turmoil for the Bureau and the country. Got to still take those jabs at Trump, even though he's gone. He has served with great professionalism and integrity. I'm glad to see the President Biden intends to keep Director Wray in his position and restore the 10-year terms for FBI directors. Such terms, which transcend administrations, were intended to insulate a director from the kind of improper personnel or political considerations that led Donald Trump to fire former Director James Comey. I look forward to our continuing work with Director Wray as we analyze the intelligence and security failures that led to the January 6th assault on the Capitol, and the need to dramatically expand the focus and resources devoted to the threat of domestic terrorism. So pretty much he's pointing the finger right there of all the ex-Trumpers. They're still Trumpers, whatnot. And he had a bill come out in 2019. We just have it down below. I think it was pointed out by Glenn Greenwald. So he's already introduced a bill legislation in 2019, taking a look at who his friends are in Congress to try to see who he was garnering support from for this. He was testing the waters back there. And right now he's already talked to the Director of National Security, the FBI Director, and he's ready to start taking on domestic terrorism, fam. Adam Schiff for brains. Your thoughts?
Well, I mean, this is what we're talking about, what we've been warning about, what we've been screaming about. I know that our friends on Slow News, they have been screaming about the same exact thing too, where this is the cryptic fascism. Like, this is going to extend on spying on Americans, infringing on your privacy, coming in and censoring the hell out of everybody that is a dissident. It's not just going to be Trump supporters. It's going to be dissidents, as you just saw, and journalists in particular. And then you have the Julian Assange case where, they're still trying to overturn that decision by Judge Vanessa Brewster and to appeal it, and
to bring him here
and extradite Julian Assange.
They want to torture him here.
So if that happens during a Joe Biden presidency, with what they're pursuing as domestic terrorism, do you see how catastrophic that could be?
Yeah.